Yes, today we shall learn about industrialization and social change. Before Industrial Revolution, everything was made by hand. But Industrial Revolution changed all that. See, look at this picture. These are the industries which were set up in England in 16th, 17th century, right? The goods that had been once produced by hand were started producing in machines. That is, it started manufacturing the goods in the machines. So, these are the factories which were set up in England, right? New machines were introduced in textile and iron industries and many other industries. The period between 1780s and 1850s was known as First Industrial Revolution. Children, let us see the learning outcomes of this chapter. So, by the end of the chapter, you will be able to explain why Britain is the birthplace of Industrial Revolution, emphasize the impact of steam power, and analyze the technological developments in Industrial Revolution. So, tell me, what is the meaning of industrialization? It's very simple, children. Industrialization is a process by which an agricultural economy, primarily the agricultural sector, is transformed into industrial sector or manufacturing of goods, right? See, these are the machines which are used to manufacture the goods. So, what is industrialization? Transformation of primary sector, that is the agriculture sector, into mechanized sector, that is the machinery. Did you understand? Okay. Now, let us see, the individual manual labor is replaced by the machines and craftsmen are replaced by assembly lines. So, what are assembly lines? An assembly line is an arrangement of workers and machines in a factory, where each worker deals with only one part of product. The product passes from one worker to another until it is finished. Let me explain you with an example. Look at this picture. What do you see in this picture? Yes, these are cream buns, right? And this is a small unit which are processed on the machines. So, here how many people are working in this unit? This is a very small unit, right? So, there are two workers. So, what is assembly line? It is an arrangement of workers and machines. Each worker is assigned a particular task. After he finishes his task, this is passed to the other worker. And this is a belt which moves from one end to the other end. As you can see, the first person is making buns, and when it is passed to the other end, the other person, the worker, is applying cream. Okay? So, this is assembly line and the belt moves from one end to another end. Did you understand? So, here craftsmen are replaced by assembly lines. Okay, did you understand? Let's have a quick mind mapping of this chapter. What is that we are going to learn in today's session? We will study about why Britain, technological developments that took place during Industrial Revolution, transportation, how transportation helped to develop industries, spread of industrialization to other countries like Germany and France. And at the end, we would also discuss about the working conditions of workers in industries. Children, this chapter is divided into three parts. So, today in today's session, we shall deal with only why Britain. Then remaining we shall discuss in the later two parts, right? Okay, so shall we start? Why Britain? What is this why Britain? How industrialization started in Britain first. So, what enabled Britain the first country to industrialize, right? What is industrialization? Transformation of agricultural sector into industrial sector. So, what made Britain to be the first country to industrialize? Okay, shall we learn that? Okay. So, there may be some reasons which helped Britain to industrialize first. So, there are 4 reasons. The 4 reasons are political stability and unified market, agricultural revolution, towns, trade and finance, and colonies. So, these are the 4 factors which helped Britain to industrialize first. So, first let us learn the political stability and unified market. What is the meaning of political stability? Political stability means stable government. That means the government does not change every 5 years. Okay? And Britain had been politically stable since 17th century. England, Wales and Scotland unified under a monarchy. Kingdom had common laws, taxation and a single currency. So, political stability means stable government. Since the government is stable, the laws, policies, whatever policies were made by the government, it has been followed by all the countries. And since when Britain had been stable? Since 17th century. Did you understand? And here 3 countries are unified. Okay, what are the 3 countries which are unified? England, Wales and Scotland. Since these 3 countries are united, means they come under only one kingdom, that is United Kingdom, right? So, here since 3 countries are united, they had common laws, common taxation and single currency. Okay? So, can you tell me what is the currency of United Kingdom? And do you know what is the other name for United Kingdom? It is Great Britain and the currency is pound sterling. 1 pound sterling is equal to 95.90 Indian rupee. Okay, did you understand? What is the other name for United Kingdom? It is Great Britain. Now look at the map. So, as I told you, United Kingdom, that means the 3 countries are united. As you can see in the map, Scotland, England and Wales. So, these 3 countries are united, right? This is about 17th century. And whereas you can see Northern Ireland is not united, it is a separate country. So, since these 3 countries are united, they have common laws, common taxation and single currency. So, this benefited Britain. Then unified market. What is unified market? A unified market is the economic term for a single market. So, single market where goods and services, capital and people can move freely without regard to national boundaries. See children, whenever the goods and services are transported from one country to another country or from one state to another state, they need to pay some taxes. But here, because they are unified, when they move from one boundary to another boundary, there are no restrictions. People can move freely, goods and services also can move freely. So, this also benefited Britain. Okay. So, what is it? Unified market means single market. This enabled Britain to have a market that was not fragmented by local authorities levying taxes on goods that passed through their area, thus increasing their price. So, what is the benefit that Britain got? When these goods are being transported from one state to another state, they don't have to pay any taxes. And the local authorities also cannot restrict these goods and services in those areas as it is only one market. Did you understand? Okay. So, now let us move on to the next, that is Britain had a parliamentary form of government. What is parliamentary form of government? A system of government in which the power to make and execute laws is held by a parliament. Britain has a parliamentary system of government, one of the oldest in the world. So, generally, parliamentary form of government is the very oldest form of government, right? And Britain is the only country which was having this parliamentary form of government. What is it? Policies, or the government can make laws and also execute laws. So, whatever laws are made by the government, it can be executed by the same government. Okay? So, this benefits the Britain because whatever policies in such a way that it benefits that country. Okay? Did you understand? Good. So, let's move on to the next part. So, how did it benefit? Since the laws are made by the same government, policies are made by the same government, and it is also executed by the same government, it gave importance to trade and industrial class, that is commerce. Okay? So, this is the benefit of parliamentary form of government. So, this was about political stability and unified market that enabled Britain to be the first country to industrialize, right? Now, let me ask you a few questions. Sharp your brains. Name the countries which were unified under one monarchy. Can you say the answer? Yes, it is Wales, Scotland and England. Here is the next question for you. What is the currency of United Kingdom? Yes, very good. It is pound sterling. What is the other name for United Kingdom? Yes, it is Great Britain. Let's move on to the next factor that enabled Britain as a birthplace of industrialization. So, what is it? It is agricultural revolution. Before 1700s, British farmers planted their crops on small strips of land. So, as you can see on the image on the screen, that before 1700s, British farmers were cultivating the lands on a small strips, right? So, every farmer had his own land. But in 1700s, the British Parliament passed legislation referred to as the Enclosure Act, which allowed the common areas to become privately owned. So, before 1700, they used to cultivate their own lands. But in 1700, what did the British government do? It has passed one legislation. What is that legislation? It is called as the Enclosure Act. So, what is Enclosure Act? Let us see now. This was a process by which bigger landlords took over small farms of peasants and enclosed village common lands. So, what is Enclosure Act? Enclosing the lands, that is, bigger farmers are buying the lands of small farmers and they are making into a common farm, right? And this led the wealthy farmers buying up larger sections of land in order to create larger and more complex farms. Okay? So, here wealthy farmers are able to pull up by all the lands which the small farmers were having, and they made into a larger complex farms. So, this benefited Britain, right? Then what happened to the farmers? Ultimately, this forced small farmers off of their land. Off of means sell off their lands. Having lost their way of life, many of these farmers went to local towns and cities in search of work. This created a large workforce for the factories and mines. So, what happened now? Small farmers lost their farms. Now, they do not have any work, right? So, where would they go? They had to go to towns and cities in search of work. So, this created a large workforce for the factories and mines which had been set up in Britain. So, this led to agricultural revolution. Okay? So, agricultural revolution. In the mid 17th century or in the mid 1700s, many changes took place in agriculture sector. So what changes took place? Like they started crop rotation and used many new techniques to increase the production of the crops. And they also used fencing. What is fence? It is used to protect the crops or fields from the animals. Then new tools were used for cultivation of crops. Like you can see on the screen, many different tools were discovered and invented, and they used these tools to cultivate the lands on the large farms. So this is agricultural revolution. So this has benefited Britain, but farmers lost their lands and they had to move to towns and cities for work. Did you understand? Okay. Now sharpen your memory. Here are a few questions for you. What was the legislation passed by the British government in 17th century? Can you say the answer? Yes, it is Enclosure Act. What were the new tools used during agricultural revolution? Yes, tell me children. Yes, iron plough, seed drill, etc. So this was the agricultural revolution. Now let's move on to the third factor which enabled Britain the birthplace of industrialization. Okay, so what is the third reason? Towns, trade and finance. Let's learn about towns. From the 18th century, many towns in Europe were growing in area and population. Between 1750 and 1800, population of 19 European cities had become double. Out of these 19 cities, 11 were in Britain and London was the largest town among them. So what happened to towns? Towns started growing, right? Along with towns, even population was also increasing. How many European cities were there? 19 European cities. So these 19 European cities, population was growing rapidly. Then in 1750 and 1800, population was growing. And out of 19 European cities, how many were in Britain? Yes, there were 11 cities. Okay, 11 cities were in Britain. And which was the largest among them? London. London is the capital city of England, right? Now let's look at the trade. What is trade? Business, that is export and import business. So how Britain was able to do the trade? London had also become globally significant. England had a good network of rivers and an indented coastline with sheltered bays. So because London is the capital city of England and it had a great network of rivers and it also had coastal lines along with bays. Do you know what are bays? Bays are a part of sea which had a wide mouth. So bays help the coastal areas to set up ports or harbors. So seaports are easily set up in the bays. So this helped Britain to do the trade. So how did it do? Cargo on river vessels was easily transferred to coastal ships called coasters. By 1800, at least 1 lakh sailors worked on the coasters. Now look at the picture. What do you see in this? This is a river system and this is London and you can see the ships sailing, right? So what are they carrying? These ships carry cargo. What is cargo? That is which carry goods, right? So the ships which carry goods are called as coasters. That is, they transfer the cargo from one seaport to another seaport. Okay, did you understand what is coaster? It is a ship which carries cargo and transfers from one seaport to another seaport. So how many sailors were there? Nearly 1 lakh workers were having work in the ships. So, what they have to do? They need to upload and unload the cargo, that is the goods. They have to transfer the goods from one ship to another ship or from one seaport to another seaport. So, this was about the trade. Then what is the third one? It is financial system. Financial system is nothing but banks, and which play a very important role, significant role in business or in setting up industries, right? So, presence of banks. The Bank of England was founded in 1694 and it had become the center of the country's financial system. By 1784, there were more than 100 provincial banks in England. So, banks are the main thing which help the Britain to set up industries. So, that is finance. So, when was the Bank of England set up in England? In 1694, and it has become the center for the country, right? And in 1784, it started spreading the branches to other areas or other cities of England. The branches are known as provinces, okay? Let us see how many were set up. This is the Bank of London in 17th century. By the 1820s, there were more than 600 banks in the provinces. Province is nothing but other than the capital city. So, what is the capital city? London. So, other than London, wherever the branches are set up, they are known as provinces. There were over more than 100 banks in London alone. So, 600 banks were in provinces, and only in London, how many were there? More than 100 banks. These banks met the financial requirements to establish and maintain big industrial enterprises. So, banks helped England or Britain to set up industries, to establish industrial sector. Understood? Good. So, let us recollect what we have discussed in the third factor. Can you answer these questions? In which year was the Bank of England founded? Yes, it is 1694. How many banks were there in London alone in 1820? More than 100 banks. And how many provinces were there in England in 1820? Yes, it is 600 banks. Did you understand? So, let us move on to the fourth factor that enabled Britain to industrialize first. So, what is it? It is colonies. Do you know the meaning of colony? Colony means a country or area controlled politically by a more powerful country. So, if a powerful country is occupying another country, it makes a colony over there, that is known as colonization. So, more powerful country setting up a colony, another country is known as colonization. How many colonies did British Empire had in 18th century? Yes, there were 13 colonies. So, total 13 colonies were set up by England in different countries. So, tell me, why did British set up so many colonies? How did it benefit? So, let us understand how it benefited. To understand that, we need to understand triangle trade. What is triangular trade? Look at the map here. Can you identify the continents here? This is Europe, this is Africa, this is South America, and this is North America. So, can you see the shape of this? It is triangle. So, this is known as triangular trade. Triangular trade had 3 stages. In the first stage, the European countries came to Africa and took slaves from Africa. So, in exchange for the slaves of Africa, they gave liquor, guns, clothes, etc. to the leaders of African tribes. Okay? So, Europeans in exchange for African slaves, they gave guns, weapons, clothes, iron objects, etc. to the African tribes. Then in the second stage, where did they transport these slaves? They transported to America. So, what did they transport? They transported African slaves to America. For what? See, America had a lot of land, right? Plenty of land for cultivation, but not enough workers to cultivate on the lands. So, Europeans brought Africans to work in the fields of the America, right? Then, in the third stage, what did Americans give in return to Europe? They gave sugar, tobacco and many other goods like rum, cotton, etc., which were produced by African slaves to Europeans. So, in this way, Europeans benefited from the colonies. As it had set up colonies on different countries, it could gain the profit, right? So, colonial conquest and trade provided British merchants and banks with a large amount of capital which could be invested in industries. So, now British got enough money. So, with this enough capital, so with this what it could do? It could set up many industries in its country. So, this was the benefit of colonies. Did you understand? So, first let us see the preconditions for industrialization. To set up industries, what are the things required? The first thing is capital investment. So, capital investment would be in the hands of those who can invest and earn profits. Then, availability of workers. So, we have seen that as during agricultural revolution, as the farmers lost their farms, they had to move to the towns and cities in search of work. So, in this way, they got workers, right? Then large market. Large market was also possible for Britain. We have seen the unification of 3 countries like Wales, Scotland and England. So, because it was a single market, they could get the profits, right? And even self-sufficiency of farmers was lost. That is, the farmers had to depend on the market only to buy the goods, because industrialization, it is a technology. New technology is also very much necessary to set up industries. So, all these conditions were fulfilled by Britain. That's why Britain is the birthplace of industrialization. Did you understand? So, it's a quiz time now. First country to undergo industrial revolution is options Japan, Britain, Germany and France. So, what is the answer? Very good. It is Britain. It is the first industrial city in England. Options Manchester, London, Oxford and Wales. Can you say the answer? Yes, it is London. With this, we come to the end of our session. Let's have a quick recapitulation of what we have learnt. We have discussed about introduction to industrial revolution, what made Britain the birthplace for industrialization, political stability and unified market, agricultural revolution, towns, trade and finance and colonies. So, with this, we come to the end of the session, today's session, that is Industrialization and Social Change Part 1. We shall continue in Part 2 in the next session. Hope you have understood. For better understanding of the concepts, solve the worksheets, please visit the official website of SIET for worksheets. Hope you have understood the chapter very well. Thank you so much. Have a good day.